Story 1. I have recently come to the realization that I have to learn how to make tamales. Our parents and aunts and uncles are getting older. Once they are gone, who else will make the tamales? Story 2. One that really hit me was realizing how much your parents were just winging it the whole time. Like, they didn't have all the answers or some master plan. They were just figuring things out like the rest of us. Also, how friendships aren't as effortless anymore. You actually have to put in work to stay connected, and sometimes life just drifts people apart no matter how much you care. Story 3. Once you lose your parents, there's no real person here for you. Your partner or spouse could leave at the drop of a hat, friends come and go, and other family members have their own families. It's pretty gloomy out here. Story 4. All the sayings I heard in my youth that I thought were terribly trite and stupid are actually true. The truest and my most hated is youth is wasted on the young. Story 5. You have to accept your own messiness and other people's messiness. I have a coworker at my job who I know has spoken badly about me behind my back. But she has also been kind to my face. I could rant and rave about how fake she is, but then I would be speaking badly about her behind her back, which I have, by the way. I complained to someone that she's a person who speaks badly about others. So I realized I'm not so different from her. And the kindness she shows can be genuine even if she is speaking badly about me. Because people can have complex feelings. Someone can like you and dislike you at the same time. They might feel comfortable showing you the things they like about you. They might not feel comfortable showing you the things they dislike about you. Adopting this mentality has greatly reduced my social anxiety. I no longer feel the need to morally police others. And I'm not so harsh on myself. She spoke badly about me. I spoke badly about her. We still get along. Oh well, life is messy. People are messy. Story 6. The amount of energy that gets drained from you when being around people you don't like. It doesn't matter if they're childhood friends or family. The sooner you get away from them, the better. Story 7. Despite email, Facebook, text messages, phone calls, and countless other methods of communication, it is remarkable how hard it is to stay in touch with people. Friendships often degenerate into chance encounters and agreements of "we need a proper catch-up" that never manifest. The older you get, the easier it is to become lonely. Story 8. That this is it. There is no real upward progression like going from baby to child to teen to young adolescent. Suddenly you are there and it's all in your hands. With expectations, sure, but less structured than life before. Story 9. Life for the average person is mostly boredom, dread, and routine, with what often feels like tiny stolen moments of happiness and fractionally smaller moments of pure joy. Story 10. Managing your expectations of everything is extremely important. It's a lot easier to see silver linings or benefits in things when you're not expecting the outcome to be a certainty. Growing up and aging is a privilege. Never make permanent decisions on temporary feelings. Story 11. Food. The amount of time required to plan, shop, cook, and clean to keep a family fed is unreal. Add in multiple kids playing multiple sports or activities, going away to tournaments, and having to eat in shifts. It's exhausting. Story 12. Make time to do what makes you happy now. Later is a moving goalpost that likely will never come. Take care of your mental and physical health. When you get to a point where you have no choice but to prioritize it, it's often too late. If you don't absolutely love your job, do what is expected of you and nothing more. Work is often a transaction, not an investment. Family will more often than not become very important the older you get, whether that's existing biological family or building your own. Don't jeopardize that while you're younger and it doesn't seem as important. Take time to learn what you're good at and use that to your advantage to make yourself useful to other people. If possible, learn as many basic repair skills as possible. The difference between having to call a plumber or handyman at 2 a.m. and being able to make a quick fix yourself will pay off multiple times. Story 13. That I did not have the childhood I thought I had. That my family is actually not all that normal, nor supportive and caring. Even now, it still feels wrong. I wasn't abused. I was fed. I was clothed. My grandparents paid for my college. But at the same time, I was completely ignored as a child. I learned early on that staying out of the way and bringing home a decent report card was all anybody cared about. In my 4 years at college, my family never came to visit. It was only 45 minutes away. Sure, sometimes they would visit if they were driving through or coming for some other reason. In the 20 years since I moved after college, not a single person has planned a trip to come see me just to see me. Again, if there's something else going on in my city, I'll get a call. Maybe. But I'm still the bad guy if I don't come home for the holidays. On top of that, I realized that my father really wasn't a great father. It's not normal to be afraid of your father. I remember a family camping trip we went on. The tent leaked, and I spent the night not sleeping in a puddle of water. But there was no way I would wake my father. He would just be angry and yell, and it would probably be my fault somehow. And the cherry on top is now learning how that has impacted me as an adult. Story 14. Compound interest seems like magic. It's just math, but it seems like magic. And the Standard & Poor's index is very, very hard to beat over time, and there's little sense trying. Story 15. That car insurance is a racket. It costs so much and keeps going up. But if you ever need to use it, they don't pay out much at all. It's my most annoying bill to pay. Story 16. 1. Adults were not all-knowing. They were just older. 2. Loud does not equal correct. 3. They could have been doing it that way for years. It is still a poor idea. 4. Watch for red flags in those closest to you. Story 17. You have to let friends go. I held on to all of mine so tight even when we were states away. But our lives were moving in different directions and we were not compatible anymore. It was difficult, but I had to accept it. Story 18. That I can become homeless and poor at any given time and day, even with the best education, best opportunities, and best situations. It either requires you to mess it up with medical bills and debt, or someone else messes it up for you. Story 19. That is, I have to depend on myself and solely myself. Growing up, it wasn't my responsibility to take care of myself and make sure I was prepared for daily tasks. Now it's just me, and it can be overwhelming. Story 20. Probably the fact that once you hit 18, everyone expects you to forget all the hurt and experiences from before that, and they remind you that now you are an adult, so basically your childhood doesn't matter anymore. Story 21. Everyone's winging it as far as adulting goes. No one really knows what they're doing. Also, a college education and working hard mean nothing for financial success unless you're already born into money. Story 22. The hardest realization for me is that you cannot always trust friends, and sometimes you cannot even trust your own family. The very people who brought you into the world and took care of you can lose your trust. Also, the realization that some people are only using you, and once they have what they want from you, then they no longer need you. Realizing this is what helped me cut the toxic material out of my life. Story 23. I couldn't wait to grow up and thought there was no way I would ever want to be a kid again. Wrong. I want to be a kid again, but do things differently for sure. Story 24. That age discrimination is socially accepted and goes unchallenged more often than not. Perfectly healthy, intelligent, competent people who know how to use a computer and cell phone get lumped together as being useless and stupid because they are old. If younger people are lucky, they too will get old and see how it feels to be on the other side of the mean and ignorant comments. I wish for their sake that people are kinder in the future. Story 25. Trusting people. People are often disappointing and not always what they seem to be. I will also disappoint people and may not know it despite my best intentions. Story 26. No one cares about what you are wearing, what your job is, what you did in school, or what sports you played. No one cares. You could wear a clown costume to the store, and no one would stop you, so why care about your shirt, pants, or hair? Story 27. That ultimately, no one else is responsible for your behavior. Seeking to blame others first tends to be a human default and a loser's path. To get the most out of life, we need to assume responsibility for our actions first, controlling what little we can control in this world. It's just a good foundation. If you start from a position of taking responsibility for what you do in this life, then you begin to make higher quality decisions because you know you are going to own them forever. Story 28. I'm autistic, so I didn't realize until my 30s that I was really neglected as a teenager. Also, none of the people who said they were my friends actually liked me. Story 29. Wars do not end. It is not a crisis right now. It is a crisis all the time. It is not just the suffering that I am seeing. There is suffering all the time. Every minute of every day. Someone somewhere is torturing a puppy, abusing a child, or someone is dying of starvation. Neglect, injustice, and cruelty are constantly ongoing. There is nothing I can do but be a drop in the bucket, while spending the rest of my time trying not to think about it, trying to ignore the truth that there is unimaginable horror unfolding as I sit here and eat noodles. Story 30. Working hard, doing your best, being honest, and playing fair doesn't mean you will be treated right by anyone. Bosses can be unkind. Coworkers may wish ill for you. You are competition for promotions and raises. Jobs are not families. Everyone is only interested in themselves. You constantly have to watch out for backstabbers, deceitful people in all walks of life, and dishonest individuals. There are far too many people who abuse positions of authority for personal gain. Don't trust anyone. The world is an unfriendly place. The only person looking out for you is yourself. Outside of my wife, kids, and very few close friends, I am sadly distrustful of almost everyone else. It's the only way to survive. Story 31. You are only as you as your body allows you to be. People will make up stories to hide things they cannot admit. People are just fundamentally incompatible. People will see you more for what you are, not for what you do. Story 32. That in life you work every week, every day, and once you get a job, there is no more school schedule. You don't automatically get 2 weeks at Christmas, days off for Thanksgiving, federal holidays, spring break, summer break, and so on. Story 33. How shallow humanity is. I've seen so many friends who grew up ugly and got hot and saw how much people changed in how they treated them. I've been losing weight, I've changed my style and my hair, and I've noticed the difference. I'm sure once I lose my weight, I'm going to be shocked at how people treat me. Story 34. That eventually you just fall into a routine of just being alive. Work, do house chores, maybe catch up with some of your family or friends when you have some time, maybe have a hobby, but it's mostly just the same routine day in and day out. Life gets pretty boring. Story 35. That people can be cruel. I mean, I knew that from a young age. It just feels worse when you're an adult, for me. That life isn't fair. I'm pretty young when it comes to being an adult, but I've learned a bit so far, and some of those things are that I'm going to make bigger mistakes than I ever did as a kid, that dating is a difficult, delicate thing and relationships are not always ideal, and that heartbreak can be inevitable. But sometimes, if a relationship isn't good, I have the right to leave, and the other person doesn't deserve my respect if they weren't being respectful. I've also learned that I don't have to be polite to someone who isn't being polite to me or is being creepy. It's way better to be safe than sorry. I'm also learning that I should listen to my gut feeling. I'm coming to the realization of how mortal I and people truly are, so it's best to be responsible with decision-making, even if my desire is to go against that. I'm learning to take opportunities to move forward. It is my life, and I can take control. It's not up to other people anymore. Story 36. Everyone is just a product of their upbringing. Whether you think someone is awful or wonderful, it is usually not just naturally how they are, but events in their development that created this human. It has made me give much more grace to people, especially my parents. Story 37. No amount of money I spend on things I enjoy will bring me the same unbridled excitement I had as a kid, because I can never fully shut out everything else going on in my life for a few hours. Story 38. Everything that was important suddenly stopped being important. The life you had somehow changed. You now have new interests and love different types of foods. You can see your past self as a kid, and you kind of understand that everything happening in your life made you who you are now. You start to notice what your parents are doing wrong, what people around you do to you. Everything gets a new meaning. You start to understand and respect people for who they are. Others' success becomes your motivation. Story 39. Who you know is just as important as what you know. The only corruption you hear about is those who got caught. There's a lot more of that happening everywhere. The rich use religion and social media to control the masses. There is no God. Story 40. Time does not go back and is finite. Studying is important. We must not let laziness win, at least most of the time. People change whether you want them to or not. Money is very important. Most things will not go the way you want. Story 41. When I was young, I couldn't understand why adults get tired easily. Now, just sleeping and waking up in the wrong position or angle depletes my energy for the day. Story 42. Success is almost completely built on a combination of luck and hard work. Intelligence, skill, and the quality of your character are mostly meaningless. Story 43. You can fulfill your childhood dreams, but all the things in between achieving those dreams can be painful, challenging, and sacrificial. For example, I got the dream job, got the man, got 2 beautiful children and a cat, and got a modest but amazing roof over my head. I achieved all those things while struggling with extremely low self-worth, addictions, abuse, a myriad of mental health issues, and toxic relationships. I sit on the back porch of my cute A-frame cabin now, looking out at the lake while my kids play in the background, but I still can't help feeling depressed, anxious, regretful, guilty, ashamed, and experiencing many more negative emotions. I am medicated and have been in therapy for years now,